You are watching Travel World Online.
Namaskar. Welcome to today's panel discussion on future of cruising in India. Today we have Mr. Sanjay Bhatia, Chairman, Mumbai Port Trust, Mr. Jürgen Ballon, President and MD, Zen Cruises, Mr. Subhash Goel, Chairman, Stick Travels and Honorary Secretary, Faith, Mrs. Ratna Chadda, CEO, Turan Marketing, and Mrs. Nalini Gupta, Head Costa Cruise in India. Indian cruise sector was a neglected one. It got boosted when Prime Minister Modi announced integrated waterways policy. India has got 7,600 kilometers of scenic coastline, but it's calling only on 5 ports. So, what government can do to boost cruising in India?
People don't know what India has to offer. So one, market itself. Two, I think we need to get an infrastructure in place, because just marketing oneself is not good enough. We need to have port infrastructure. We need to ensure we have a proper structure where people can go. And the third thing I think is policies in place. Policies in terms of port taxes, our costs which are involved with ships, our custom duties, excise, no surprises. Have all these things in place so that people view India as a cruise-friendly country. So ships feel comfortable coming to this country and start importing their ships here. That's what I can say. And now that Jürgen is here, he can continue.
Mr. Jürgen, we all know you are working hard to make India a cruising destination. What do you think? What all we have to do to put India on cruising map of the world?
Thanks for having me, Mr. Anil. Very good question. So, first of all, I want to say the government or the Port of Mumbai and the port chairman, Mr. Bhatia, together with all the other ports, they have been very, very supportive. They are very big advocates of cruising, and I can say today, Karnika, after 100 turnarounds and 90,000 guests later, after almost 1 year operation, the government has been, in general, very helpful. DJ Shipping, the state government, even the central government with the leadership of the Honorable Minister of Shipping. However, yes, there is always something everyone can do better and to promote the tourism and especially cruising more. First of all, I think the way costs or taxes are charged or the structure of the port charges in India, they should be changed to head taxes, for example. And then I think in order to boost, like in every other industry, we need first a break to start. So perhaps to get a tax holiday for the first 4 or 5 years, to promote this industry. You see, in the end of the day, it's not just having a lot of happy guests. Our goal, for example, for Challenge Cruises is to create about 2 million jobs. But I only can create 2 million jobs if it's feasible to have this business in India. Now, you have a wonderful coastline of 7,600 odd kilometers. And I think given the situation today where we should promote Incredible India, Taste of India, giving the situation we are in today because of COVID-19, I think the government can help us to get back on our feet together with all the ports, with all the destinations which we can support bringing guests. And I think with some tax holidays or lower taxes and better structures in terms of tonnage tax or head taxes in ports, it will help us, but it also will promote other cruise companies to come to India. There is a great opportunity for Royal Caribbean, Costa and all the other cruise companies to come. But for that, we need to be a little bit more up to the international standards, if you want, in terms of that. But in general, the government has been supportive, and especially the ports, and with the leadership of Mr. Bhatia, thank you. He has been a big advocate, and we're very glad that we're having another opportunity and start off hopefully our next season soon.
Mr. Bhatia, all praises for you from the industry. What do you think we need to do to make India favorite cruising destination?
So, I think last 3 4 years, cruise industry has changed quite substantially. I'll just give you an example. In 2017-18, Mumbai got 40 ships after a lot of efforts. And in 1920, we got 229 ships. We were expecting 243 callings, but we got 229. Just because of the COVID, the whole thing stopped in mid March and April. So a lot of steps, according to me, have already been taken. We have to just take them forward now. New SOPs were prepared for immigration, for ports, for customs, for every department which deals with cruise industry. Because our guys, like port guys and the CSF guys, were used to dealing with cargo or crew of the cargo. So we had to give them a lot of training to deal with these special cruise passengers. 5 ports had joined together, and these 5 ports have done substantially well. I would say in 3 years, if we have gone in one port from 40 to 229, then it's substantial progress. We had also, from the Government of India side, appointed Barmello and Ajamil to prepare a roadmap for the country on cruise. And in that report, there were a number of action points which were given. One, of course, what Nalini mentioned was the marketing. So we had started attending the conferences. Our people attended the Dubai conference. I myself attended the Miami conference along with Secretary Shipping. We were also planning to host the Sea Trade conference this year here. So that was on the plan towards the marketing side. Regarding the infrastructure, every port is preparing a cruise terminal right now. In Mumbai, there is a huge international cruise terminal coming up. I was expecting it to get ready by September, but I think it will go to December or March next because of COVID. A delay of 5-6 months will take place. Similarly, other ports are doing. Goa is coming up with a new terminal completely. So on infrastructure side, a lot of work is being done. SOPs have been prepared. There is a committee which is monitoring these SOPs because there was an issue also of interpretation of the SOPs. So that is also monitoring. Maybe in the next season now, the committee will again visit everyone. We had also reduced the port charges very substantially. Housing charges were removed. Our own charges were very substantially removed. In fact, the request had come from Carnival in the beginning after our Maritime India Summit, and based on that, we took all these steps. I want to give you the latest news also now. There is a maritime vision being prepared by the Ministry of Shipping right now, which has 14 thrust areas. One of the thrust area is cruise, how to develop cruise and take it further. In fact, all the people who are sitting in front of you here today, I think Nalini and Jurgen are at least there, and I'm going to include Radnaji and if Subhash Goyalji agree, also in that group. We are preparing the vision for the next 2 years, 5 years, and 10 years. So all the steps which we need to take, even with complete consultation with the stakeholders, that work is right now going on. We plan to complete it in the next about 20 days. And when the whole vision is ready, it's going to be presented to the Prime Minister. So this is what is happening vis-a-vis cruise. As per the question which you have asked, I have not mentioned COVID yet.
What I believe is if we plan right, cruise is the best option during COVID. When we say living with COVID, if you put your cards in order, because once you are on board, if you make sure everyone on board is COVID free, then it's a destination in itself while traveling. Nali, what's your take on this?
I have mixed views on this. One is I think it could also be a hotbed of spreading COVID if you have not, like you said, taken required steps. So it could be an opportunity for India because people are not going to move out of the country very easily. So cruise as a destination would be great for ships close by to the port. People are not going to fly to other parts of the world to take a cruise. So as a destination, it's great, but close to home. But a cruise liner independently will have to take a lot more steps to ensure they project a image of being in a position to handle a COVID situation or COVID-like situation in the future. So I think it's mixed feelings. I think people could view it as a great place to go to, but people are going to do a wait and see attitude before they step into this decision.
Mrs. Chadha, what's your take on this?
Yeah, okay. I'm glad you asked me that question because I was itching to go before Nalini. My situation, what I think is that if you look at it, actually, cruise lines are very equipped to handle these situations because you know of the environment that we ply under. Because it's a contained environment and these things have happened in the past, it's not to this extent, but there have been other issues that have taken place, and therefore the cruise lines are really cautious and have to maintain health and hygiene of the highest order because of the contained environment. So they were used to this anyway, and every cruise line had adopted and had a procedure and a protocol in place. Of course, now with the COVID situation and with this new heightened infection, they need to go way beyond and enhance whatever they had implemented earlier, like all other service providers are doing. So there are a lot of things that are being done in collaboration with other cruise lines because all of us belong to the same category. And as you know, that when COVID played out, the media exposure on us was not very healthy. The fact of the matter is that even in this COVID situation, the cruise lines were neither the cause nor the source of the infection. What happened was that incident on the another brand was misplayed and was unnecessarily heightened, and it was mismanaged, in my opinion. And that's why cruising got the stigma that it did. But really, neither did the infection break out on our ships, and nor were we the cause of it. So I agree. Yeah, we've got to enhance our safety and safe requirements. And just to give you an example, for us, like Royal Caribbean, we are now not going to sail at 100% occupancy, as I assume the other cruise lines will also do. We will only sail in, let's say, balcony cabins and above. And the new regime is that the new ships that are plying now have 80% of their occupancy, their inventory anyway in the balcony cabins. The inside cabins are going to be closed completely. My personal opinion and my own this thing is that probably they will use that to spread out the crew, because the crew needs to be as safe and secure as our passengers. So they'll probably use the inside inventory for them. Things like buffets and dining in a closed environment is out completely. So there's going to be a new regime as far as that is concerned. Even destinations may change. There may be itineraries without touching a port every day. I mean, the fact is that you don't need to get into crowded areas. Even the shore excursions that the cruise lines offer when we are at a port will change, because the cruise line will take on the responsibility now of transporting people in their own equipment, buses and whatever, or use tour operators that have the hygiene standards in place so that people don't contract any infection. The other thing, of course, is that once you're on a cruise ship, you are completely closed out to any interaction with outside vendors. You're vetted when you board the ship. The screening is done at that point, both for the crew and for the passengers, and there is no interaction with any outside vendors, unlike a hotel or a land-based holiday. Therefore, the chances of infections coming on are far less. So I would say that a cruise ship is more secure than any other place.
So Jürgen, what Mr. Bhatia said, his statement shows there's big scope of cruising in India. But in today's scenario, is cruising safe? Do you agree with Ratna? Cruise is 100% safe if taken care?
Yeah, Mr. Bhatia has a very valid point, and obviously, as he just said, 240 calls. I'm glad that we are the major contributor for that, but it shouldn't be the last. I would say we do have the opportunity, once the international terminal is completed with all the expansions of all the other international ports, I can see a couple of other companies, large ones, coming to India. I think with the recent unfortunate pandemic, which unfortunately happened in Asia and started in China, will give us another boost, because I believe a lot of people refrain from traveling abroad for the first few months or half a year, and the people will realize that actually India is a beautiful country with a great coastline, as I mentioned earlier. And I see a great opportunity. I see a great opportunity for Incredible India, Taste of India, to show to our Indian guests and show them a home away from home without having to travel abroad. And I had earlier this week a discussion with the board chairman. Ship is almost like a safe haven. People don't understand from the bad media how clean and how safe actually a ship is. The virus doesn't start on the ship, it's brought to the ship. So I can assure you there's a very, very safe environment, and it's a very safe way of vacationing, being able to see your own country and still feeling you go abroad with international standard and experience. So I see a great opportunity. Unfortunately, we need to work very hard on processes and procedure and how we maintain and control a potential outbreak, but not only on the ship, in the port, in the airport, everywhere else. But the potential is big, and I will be a big advocate to promote India and tell Indians, stay in India, cruise and enjoy cruising. I think it's a great segment and a great way of enjoying a family get-together and a vacation.
Mr. Goyal, you're the senior most among all of us and have got a long experience in the trade. Please put light on future of cruising in India. And I would also from you, this role of media.
Media, unfortunately, always publicizes something which is negative. And particularly not only in India, but in many other democratic countries, negative news gets more, TRP on TV and other media, whereas positive news is not, highlighted. I think I agree with Ratna completely that cruises will be the safest way to travel, because, you're so strict. And they will obviously have better, still more stringent hygienic norms and sanitation norms. I remember I was on a Holland America cruise and I just had a little upset stomach. They quarantined me and for 2 days, and until I was perfect. And there's always a doctor on board in every ship, and they have a little mini hospital type of thing, which is the safest way to travel. Yes, when you board the ship, every single crew member, everything will be quarantined. Even food will have to go through a lot of it already does, but I think the things will become more stringent. In any case, as far as international cruising is concerned, most of the companies are starting from next year. So this year, I think the business has been most adversely affected, not only for cruises, but entire outbound and inbound tourism industry has been affected. So what we need, since Mr. Sanjay Bhatia is there, and I agree with him, in the last 2-3 years, a lot of progress has been made thanks to Mr. Gadkari and his team and the Port Authority and their team and all the people involved, that finally India is waking up we have more than 7,000 kilometers of coastline, and we have the most beautiful ports in the world. And yet it was a shame that a lot of our ships were docking on same places where cargo was also being offloaded. So I think now Jalesh has done a lot of pioneering work, and I think they have come to stay. And I think it's an opportunity for them now that they can offer holidays near the coastline, and a lot of people would like to go there. But a lot of marketing effort on declaring the safety, the security, the hygienic standards will have to be done by all cruise companies, jointly also and individually also. As far as ports are concerned, yes, a lot has been done, but a lot still needs to be done. You see, river cruising is, something in India which needs to be developed. You see, we have such wonderful rivers, but except the Ganges and a little bit on the Brahmaputra, and from Varanasi, I think that we have one or two river cruises, or some backwater cruising is there in Kerala. But cruising in the real sense of the word on rivers, like in Europe, uh, is we have a long way to go. So I think the government has rightfully chosen one of the finest Indian, bureaucrats in Mr. Sanjay Bhatia. I'm interacting him with for the first time, but I have known his reputation, and I have known he's one of the few people the entire community holds in very high esteem. So, sir, what we need is a completely revolutionary policy, not only for inland waterways, not only for developing more ports. Every state which is on the coastline must compete with each other. There should be a healthy competition of attracting cruise ships. Secondly, for making cruise ships to come to India, we have to make Indians who travel on cruises, we have to make their life more simple. Right now, what is happening, what we see, and I think both Nalini and Ratna would agree with me, that a lot of our business is lost because uh, people contact their relatives and friends in US or other countries, and they buy the cruises on the net, and with the result that the Indian operators don't get a commission on that. So I think what needs to be done is, in order to revive this industry, which also employs a lot of people and also generates a lot of taxes for the government, we will have to reduce or make it just nominal for Indians who are buying cruises. Otherwise, what will happen is that whatever little taxes we get out of the cruise companies selling their cruises and marketing their cruises here will actually go on the net, and people will buy through their friends. I think
Heart lost.
which we are already doing. Can you hear me?
Yes, everything
Yeah.
lost for a
Yeah.
second.
So,
Yeah.
we need a three-pronged attack. One is we have to make to attract international cruises to turn to have touch more Indian shores. We have to make
So,
it absolutely hassle-free, and there has to be a one-window clearance for everything.
Mr.
Whether
Mughal will come back to that particular point.
yeah,
First I want to know from everyone, like how safe the cruises are. Mr. Bhatia,
Yeah. Okay, so I want to answer that COVID question
yes, please.
because till I took this first meeting of that thrust area of the, I was vis-a-vis cruise. I was under depression because for the last about 3-4 years we had worked so hard to bring from almost zero to a particular level, and suddenly everything falling apart. The cruise ships are standing in my anchorage, can't do anything. In fact, we went out of the way to take their crew off. Other ports were refusing. Mumbai said, okay, come, we will handle it in whatever way we can. And we've done that. But could not even visualize the solution. The other day in my first meeting, and Jurgen is not here, but I must give credit to Jurgen. I'll tell you what is the solution for these guys. Cruise itself has to be a completely safe haven. Nobody can enter the cruise unless he has been tested.
True.
Okay, the negative test. Inside car, all the crew members also have to be completely negative. After that, just you have to just assure, tell people that this is 100% pure, absolutely pure. That appears to be the only solution. And in the beginning, they will have to have only destinations which are also zero. Today, Goa is zero. I hope it remains zero. Lakshadweep is probably zero. So these will have to be, of course, you will have to pick up from Mumbai because all your passengers are going to be from Mumbai. So, but the destinations have to be one, everyone. The SOP will have to be zero, completely negative, anyone who's entering the ship. So we are already preparing SOPs for that. SOP for the ship, SOP for the port, then SOP for the destination. So new destinations will have to be recognized for that. So that has given me a lot of hope because this guy, Jurgen, is planning on those lines completely. And we are going to give him full support in that. And I think, Nalini, you guys also start thinking on those lines. I told this to my daughters. You know, they are thoroughly bored sitting at home. And I'm sure, Ratna, your kids are also completely bored sitting at home. If some sort of an assurance comes out that this destination, this tourism destination is pure, it doesn't have COVID, you see how the people are going to jump at it. So only thing which we have to do is we have to have a very harsh SOP, very, very harsh SOP, so that it does not enter. Even then, let's say there is a 0.01% possibility of COVID entering a ship. And I want to add one more thing before I go to that point. You will not do any social distancing inside. Ratna, this is the concept. You fill up all your cabins. You just have to ensure nobody is entering inside who has got COVID. Inside, let them have all masti what they want. I'll give you an example. There is this National Police Academy in Hyderabad. My colleague is heading that, and you know what he has done? When this COVID started, one option was to send everybody go back. He just enclosed it completely. Inside, they can do anything. It's pure. So you need to do something on those lines. No social distancing inside. So that is probably the way out for the cruises in the beginning, and going only to the destinations which are also absolutely pure. Zero COVID. So that is how it will be in the beginning. Later on, when the vaccine comes and all comes, it will be like any other disease. You should have a vaccine before you go in. That's all. So that is what I think is the solution. It took me out of my depression when I thought of this idea of Jurgen, and he's planning it in October, November itself. And we are completely with him on this. Regarding those three things which Subhash Goyalji has said, inland waterways, yes, of course, tremendous effort is required in that direction. And I'm sure, in fact, we had prepared all the plans and now we will put it in this new vision also. GST and customs, I have been working on that. Now it's in fact not on our radar at all. As soon as something starts happening, we'll put it back on the radar. Right now, you don't know what is happening I don't know whether others are aware. All the ports are functioning. Mumbai port is functioning at 95% capacity for the last 2.5 months. With 20% people, the port is being operated through Zoom meetings and everything. So the things can be done. If you have the will, it can be achieved. So that is how we have been functioning. I also agree with you that we need to get more destinations, and that is what we had planned. Actually, there were 3-4 Gujarat destinations which were ready. I missed that. If there is a 0.05% chance of COVID happening, first we have to assure that there is no COVID. Then the ports and the ship have to have an immediate emergency plan system set up so that there is one COVID guy and anybody who's come in contact, first they have gone in quarantine immediately. We should be able to lift them through helicopters or bring the ship nearby and we take them to the hospital or quarantine. So we have to have some emergency plan also in place for this to happen. Media is going to be media. Whatever we may say here, negative publicity gets more TRPs. Yeah. So it is going to be there. In between, I have seen media also being very positive. And now that there is so much negativity in the air, so much negativity in the air. In fact, I have stopped looking at the television. If something positive happens, probably that will be the attraction now. That will get them the TRP. So that will be their role. But they are going to go by TRP. You can't tell them don't do this and don't do that.
I'd like to add here, Anilji, that anything to do with the cruise liner, if somebody jumps from a building, probably the press will cover it for a day. But if it's a cruise liner, the entity of cruise, the cruise industry itself automatically attracts a lot of TRPs. So the news gets covered for a longer time. A simple thing also gets exaggerated. So I would think media in that sense has that particular affinity towards the cruise industry. So we have to live with it.
True. India is strategically placed between Western Europe and Asia. So whenever a cruiser is going, it has to go through India. So where you see the opportunity? Do you see any opportunity there, Mrs. Chadda?
It's been 27 years that we've been talking about this. For me, it's been 27 years. In 2000, late 90s, early 2000, there was a debate that went on. There was a study that was done by the Duke University students, MBA students, a case study of whether our company should invest in India or in China.
Okay.
And what happened was that China got the better of us for various reasons. And look, until COVID hit them, look where they went with the cruise industry. It was a complete surge. Within a couple of years, from zero base, they went to about 3 million passengers. Obviously, their domestic base is as large as India is. And we both had a chance. I think that what went in favor of China was that it was a single window operation, and all of their policies and procedures and infrastructure and everything came under that single window. And it was, it made it just easier for the cruise lines to invest in that country. Now, I think is the time that we just have to wake up, because India is very strategically placed as a country. No cruise line, as you just said, can cross over, and vice versa, unless they cross through India. Also, India is probably the only unique country where we can offer multi-destinations. No other country, if you look at any other country where ships are home porting, you will find that they are home port in that country, but then their itineraries are all outside of that country. India is the only one where we have such a vast coastline, and we can offer multi-destinations and also therefore add value by giving land tours to the landlocked destinations in the country. So you can, for example, disembark in Mumbai, take a chartered flight or a flight to Delhi, Agra, Jaipur, Khajuraho, Varanasi, and then take the ship, join the ship again in Mangalore, which is the last port. So it will probably, if we keep the ship here for 4 or 5 days, people can look around and see the other parts of the country that are landlocked. This doesn't happen. That's what my next question was. It doesn't happen anywhere else.
I think, but Ratna, Anil is asking about a ship which is doing an itinerary from Europe into Asia via India.
Correct. But what I'm saying is that if being the case, that India has an opportunity now again to surge ahead because of what has happened in China. We lost the opportunity in the late 90s, early 2000 when China took it all away. We are now back again in the fray. Let us say, that's what I'm saying. Let's use this opportunity to bring India on the cruising map. That's number one. Number two, just to be fair, Mr. Bhatia, I think you are probably a unique person in this whole scenario who understands the cruise business because you worked closely with the cruise lines. Unfortunately for us, the rest of the government, well, I shouldn't say rest, let me say most of them don't really have a deep understanding. They know what cruising is about, but they don't have a deep understanding of our category. And this stems from the simple fact that when we talk to them about issues, we are just brushed aside and told, but you're in the luxury category. Why are you worried about pricing and customs and all of this? That's not the case. It's like a hotel. You have hotels of various categories. There are luxury, there is mid-segment, and there is contemporary. And that's what we are all made up of. Our contention is that who has given us the prerogative only to cater to the luxurious client or the affluent? Why can't we cater to the rest of the segment, which is the mid-segment and which is where most of our aspirational people belong? So now in this scenario, I'm just bringing this point up because if now first we have so many ministries that are involved in our entire category, from MOT to shipping to defense in some areas. And now if health gets involved, we will need to educate these people. I mean, educate to the extent, make them aware of what our category is all about. Otherwise, again, we'll be brushed aside with some odd procedure which will be a deterrent.
No,
Very true.
I agree with.
So I'm saying let's not lose this opportunity. Today, India needs, we need to get into domestic tourism. We have a huge base. We can make a gold mine out of this. I think we're just sitting on a gold mine and looking at it and not being able to carve a niche for ourselves.
So that's what my next question is.
That's what my next question is. Why can't we get the opportunity?
I agree with Ratna. It is now or never. You see, it's very unfortunate the coronavirus pandemic which has happened. But now
it's a silver lining for us.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Health apart, and for all that's going on, forget that. But it's a silver lining for us.
Let me say what I'm saying. You see, this I would say is a blessing in disguise, that people now don't want to go to China, right? They are afraid of going to China, and psychological barrier is there now against China. Emotional barrier, psychological barrier, because the whole world has suffered. I don't say it was China's fault, but the very fact that the virus originated there is a little sentiment against China. So today we have a very pragmatic government where we can have a one window clearance, because not only Mr. Bhatia, but also the minister, Gadkari, is a very, very proactive person. And I think both of you together can create a one window clearance for all that is needed by international tour operators to come to India and have both on the East Coast and West Coast, they can go around the coast of India and then proceed, whether they have to go to China or they have to go to any other place in Southeast Asia or Japan or wherever it is. And similarly, cruises coming from those ports in the East can anchor in one or two of our ports here and then carry on to the West. Secondly, what was also mentioned by Mr. Bhatia, that Goa, Andaman Nicobar Islands, and some of the other island areas in and around India, including countries like Maldives, there's hardly any COVID in those areas. So those areas can be started first, and later on other areas can be developed. So I'm quite confident that, like they say, it is the darkest before dawn. We in the cruise industry are facing the worst period in our lifetime. But let us all remain positive. Let us all think out of the box, and let us think that we have to reinvent ourselves, and we have to together market and spread the word that cruises are the safest way to travel. And now today, if you do a marriage or an event in any other place, there is a restriction of 50 people, or but conferences and other events can take place on cruises.
So I'll come back to that question, sir. I need to ask that particular question with everyone. Before that, I want to add one. So before that, I would like to add one thing. Mr. Bhatia, We have got such a long coastline, beautiful scenic coastline. We have got multiple cruising destinations. Can't we have hop on hop off packages? Like, what Mr. Chedda was saying.
So it's not a question of developing ports, because if you're
So your
going to
voice is
take a
cracking.
cruise ship
Yeah.
there, it should
Your
have a
voice is
draft of
breaking.
about 10 meters. It
Now
needs to have a. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me?
Yeah, better.
Okay.
better.
So we cannot create ports just like that. That sea at that place has to have a draft of about 10 meters. So other option is when the ship comes nearby and it sends its boats and the people go there. And that is the option we have been working on. For example, Ganpati, Phule, Gujarat, 3-4 destinations. And that full plan has been prepared for at least Maharashtra, Gujarat. Some thinking has been done for near Vizag and near Calcutta also. Calcutta is going more on the inland waterways side and near Chennai. So this is what has been already thought of, more destinations, but the ship goes nearby and through boats people go inside. But right now, we will have to do a completely different thinking. People are not going to go to any destination where there is COVID. So for the next year, or I don't know, till the vaccination comes. So for about a year, we will have to just develop destinations COVID-free. The buses in which we are taking the passengers, COVID-free. The boats in which you are taking completely COVID-free. Only then it is going to work. So the plans for what you have said are already in place. We just need to push them at the right time.
Are you working on some guidelines? By when we will get the guidelines?
No. So there is a Burmel. I told you this maritime vision is under preparation, and cruise is one of the thrust areas. I want to tell Mr. Subhash Goyal also. The mandate given by the Minister Mr. Mandviya from Gujarat.
Yes.
He's the shipping minister now. He's given me 2 mandates. One, he says every inch of land which the ports have, I want to see an industry there, port-led industry. So come up with the land policy which does that. So we are preparing that. One. Second mandate was this. We must now pick up all the business which is going away from China for the cruises. Whatever is required to be done, do it. In fact, I must tell you, when he said, go and prepare a plan for cruises, I told you, I was under depression. I said, sir, अभी क्या cruise की आप बात कर रहे हैं? बाकी चीजें करते हैं. ये तो meeting तो लो. So first meeting itself, Jurgen gave this idea of a safe haven. So that is how it is proceeding. The government is extremely proactive. It wants business. It wants to do these things. And this vision plan is under preparation. By 15th of June, it should be ready. And all these people, participants here will all be members in that group which is preparing.
Like to add here, Anil, I agree with Mr. Bhatia. Over the 4 years that we did sailing and home ported in Mumbai, every year I saw a difference in the way we were facilitated and the whole processes. And I think it only happened because Mr. Bhatia was driving that whole initiative of cruising from India.
Absolutely. I see a need for the stakeholders to work together in every sector. In the cruise sector is actually a very small niche. I mean, there is only 39 million cruisers every year the last few years, and it's steadily increasing. No, absolutely, because it's a segment where everybody can profit from. Land-based operations, airports, airplanes, flights, hotels, the incoming, the outgoing tour operators. It's so big what is impacted by that segment. And there's a lot of synergy. Yes, there's a lot of synergy with taxi operators, tourism punts all over, all the beautiful places to visit, to promote, and the opportunity in the synergy is to promote each other. I know we're going to roll out to go to Lakshadweep. What a beautiful place to have in this country. Needs to be promoted. People need to be taken there, and it's a different way of seeing. And I believe, again, cruising as being an affordable luxury if you want. It's a great way. Now, there's synergies everywhere. We're working very close with everyone. I'm very close with Ratna and Nalini. We three had together Inkla, and synergies with other the cruise operators are good, especially now in our tired times. I'm working very closely with Royal Caribbean, getting their ships into Mumbai and helping the crew to get home. So synergies on a political level, very important. We have that through Mr. Bhatia, our board chairman. We are very close, and we are the tourism sector is a very close-knitted group of people. So there's a lot of synergies, and we're very fortunate to have such a wonderful business to look after. So thank you very much.
The lesson to learn from COVID.
Lesson to learn from COVID is everyone must start doing meditation, which I have been trying to do.
Be calm.
That gives you the strength, and look at things very positively. Look at that you are sitting with your family, you are enjoying yourself. Just don't watch television. Stop looking at WhatsApp. Do the rest of the things. This is the lesson from COVID. And Sunilji, thank you very much, because the next Zoom is just entering. So
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your precious time, sir. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Subhash. Thank you, Ratna.
Thank you, Sanjay.
Acha.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Sanjay Bhatia ji talked about being calm during COVID or post-COVID. I think while cruise liners have a lot of protocols and a lot of sanitization within the ships, and they're perfectly equipped to handle scenarios of carrying so many people, I think post-COVID, there will be still new processes, which will of course be good in terms of ensuring that there is no crowding in places. The shore excursions don't have people close to each other in buses, so on and so forth. But I think even from a port perspective, there'll be a lot more hygiene, a lot more sanitization. Also, I think from a consumer perspective, I don't think, every time Indians, when they check in, they all want to be the first to check in. There should be this crowding. Post-COVID, I think people will stand properly in the queue, and there will be distancing there as well. Similarly, at buffets, everybody would throng to places. People will keep their distance. And I know so many times real-life examples where at buffet lines, when people would touch some product like a puri or a samosa, put it right back if it's not hot. And we used to always say, please take it and throw it out. Keep it in your plate. Don't put it back in the buffet tray. They will start doing all those things on their own. So from all perspectives, from a cruise liner, from the ports, from a consumer, there will be a change in terms of mindsets.
Yeah, let me add to that, Nalini. They picking up stuff from the buffets now passe. They will be served. There will be servers behind to put this in their plate, because Indians have this mentality. It's like a wedding. If food is going to run out, idhar hi khade raho. Stand around the buffet where you want to khana.
Yeah. Very true. Very true.
That's not going to happen anymore.
Yeah, so at all levels, I think there's going to be some.
You are watching Travel World Online.